First airing in 1974, Porridge became one of Britain's most beloved sitcoms, bringing laughter to millions with its sharp wit and unforgettable characters. However, behind the comedic brilliance of the show lay the real-life struggles, tragedies, and heartbreaks of its cast members. Now, in 2025, 51 years after its debut, the lives of the actors who once brought Porridge to life have been marked by hardship, unexpected accidents, battles with illness, and painful losses. Some faced career struggles and personal turmoil, while others endured long fights with deteriorating health. The deaths of key cast members over the years left a lasting void, with some passing away under tragic circumstances. As we look back at the legacy of Porridge, we also remember the real-life challenges its stars faced beyond the prison walls of HMP Slade. Norman Stanley Fletcher, the main character in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, is a clever and resourceful prisoner who always finds ways to adapt and survive in the harsh environment of a British prison. Played by Ronnie Barker at the age of 45, Fletcher is not only a charming conman but also a man with a pragmatic philosophy of life, which earns him the respect of both his fellow inmates and the audience. However, in contrast to the laughter he brings on screen, Ronnie Barker's real life was filled with many tragedies. His marriage to Susan Barker, despite having 2 children together, eventually fell apart due to the pressures of his career and growing emotional distance. Despite his fame and the adoration of millions, Barker struggled with loneliness and depression, emotions he rarely expressed. In his later years, his life became even more difficult due to health issues, particularly heart disease. On October 3, 2005, Ronnie Barker passed away at the age of 76 due to heart failure, leaving behind a rich artistic legacy but also deep sadness for a talented artist who suffered silently through much pain. Mr. McKay, the rigid and stern prison officer in Porridge, is a character with strong principles who always prioritizes duty, creating an interesting contrast with the cunning prisoners under his watch. Played by Fulton McKay at the age of 52, the character became an iconic figure in the show thanks to the combination of strict discipline and unwitting moments of humor. However, behind the successful career, McKay's personal life was filled with misfortunes. His 2 marriages both ended in divorce, leaving him emotionally scarred and strained. Despite being recognized for his acting talent, he struggled to find fulfillment in his private life. The 1980s marked a sharp decline in his health when McKay was diagnosed with stomach cancer. This cruel disease tortured him both physically and mentally, turning his final years into a painful battle. Despite undergoing treatments, Fulton McKay could not overcome the illness and passed away on June 6, 1987, at the age of 64. His death marked a tragic end for an artist who reached the peak of his career but faced deep inner pain in his personal life. Officer Barrowclough, the kind and compassionate prison officer in Porridge, is a character who stands in stark contrast to the harsh prison environment he works in. Played by Brian Wilde at the age of 47, Barrowclough brought a humanistic perspective to the role, which made his character a standout in the show. Despite his success on screen, Wilde's real life was full of struggles. He married actress Leslie Dudley in 1951, and they had 3 children, but their marriage was tested by Dudley's ongoing mental health issues. Eventually, they divorced, leaving Wilde with feelings of loneliness and emotional burdens both in his career and personal life. As he grew older, Wilde gradually withdrew from the limelight, living in seclusion and silence. A tragedy struck on March 20, 2008, when Brian Wilde passed away at the age of 80 after a fall, closing the life of a dedicated actor who left a deep impression on the audience but also endured much personal suffering and loss. Lenny Godbeer, the young, naive, and hopeful character in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, was played by Richard Beckinsale at the age of 27. Godbeer, though imprisoned, always maintained his belief in justice and hope for the future, creating an interesting contrast with the more experienced inmates and the officers. Beckinsale, with his subtle acting, made the character a bright spot in the show. However, despite his rising career, Beckinsale's personal life was not without its challenges. He went through 2 marriages, to Margaret Bradley and Judy Lowe, both of which faced difficulties. His relationships with family members and loved ones were also strained. Particularly, his relationship with his daughter, actress Kate Beckinsale, became complicated. With an unfulfilled career and a personal life full of trials, Beckinsale faced a great tragedy when he suddenly passed away from a heart attack on March 19, 1979, at the age of 31 due to coronary artery disease. His untimely death took away a great talent, leaving an infinite sense of loss among those who admired him, making people wonder what other achievements he could have reached in his career if not for the cruel hand of fate. Tony Osoba, who played McLaren in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, brought to life a strong, tough, and loyal character, embodying the resilient spirit of a prisoner in the harsh environment. McLaren, with his unwavering loyalty, became an essential part of the show. However, Osoba's personal life was not as smooth as his role. Despite having a solid career, he often felt overshadowed by his co-stars, which made him feel unrecognized. His marriage ended in divorce, leaving him with emotional scars he struggled to overcome. Although he later found solace in a quieter and more private life, the wounds in his soul still lingered. Currently, at 77 years old in 2025, Osoba continues to live a private life, carrying both the successes and challenges of his career and personal life. Although he is known to the public, he continues to face personal pains and battles that few know about. Sam Kelly, who played Warren in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, was a kind-hearted but naive prisoner, bringing humorous and endearing moments to the show. Loved for his innocence and sincerity, Kelly portrayed a character that was in stark contrast to the reality of his own life. Despite having a diverse television career, Kelly constantly struggled with deep personal issues, particularly his battle with alcoholism. This lifestyle severely impacted his relationships, especially his marriage, leading to tension with his family and children. His efforts to overcome his addiction were not enough to bring peace to his life. Later, Kelly was diagnosed with cancer, and despite his resilience, the cruel disease took his life on June 14, 2014, at the age of 70. Kelly's death marked not only the end of a humorous career but also the close of a life filled with suffering, as he quietly endured pain and internal struggles for many years. Michael Barrington, who played Governor Venables in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, portrayed a well-meaning but inept character who was often unaware of the harsh realities of prison life. Though his acting left a strong impression, Barrington's personal life was full of pain and failure. His marriage ended in a bitter divorce, leaving him to face loneliness and deep feelings of loss. Despite a commendable career, Barrington often felt overshadowed by other successes and struggled with a sense of helplessness. His health deteriorated over time, and depression plagued him through his final years. On June 5, 1988, Barrington passed away at the age of 63 from a heart attack, marking the end of a life full of untapped potential. His death was a sad conclusion for a man who fought with deep inner pain and loneliness, even as he tried to provide memorable performances. David Jason, who played Blanco in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, portrayed a clever and resourceful character who always found ways to improve his situation with schemes. However, Jason's life mirrored the complexity of his on-screen character. While his career soared with many iconic roles, his personal life was fraught with difficulties. His marriage ended in separation, and he faced loneliness, a profound sense of isolation. As he grew older, his mental health deteriorated, and he struggled with depression and disillusionment with the fame and success he had achieved. Although he found moments of joy, they were often fleeting. As of 2025, at the age of 84, David Jason is still alive but continues to face health challenges and the weight of past struggles. His life story is a bittersweet reminder of the complexities behind fame and success. Christopher Biggins, who portrayed Lukewarm in Porridge, 1974 to 1977, brought to life a kind and vulnerable character, embodying warmth and approachability. However, behind this charming exterior, Biggins faced a series of personal and emotional challenges. His relationships were unstable, marked by infidelity and prolonged heartache. Despite maintaining a cheerful and friendly demeanor, he struggled with deep loneliness and a yearning for connection. Although he enjoyed a successful career, it did little to alleviate his emotional difficulties, and his family life was fraught with tension and feelings of alienation from those closest to him. In 2025, at the age of 76, Biggins is still alive, reflecting on a life that blends on-screen success with personal sorrow. These personal struggles, though less talked about now, remain an important part of his journey. Brian Glover, who played Heslop in Porridge from 1974 to 1977, portrayed a strong yet somewhat dim-witted character, known for his loyalty to fellow inmates. With his physical strength and simple nature, Heslop often brought humor to the show. However, Glover's personal life was far from simple. Although his acting career began on stage, it was often overshadowed by struggles in his private life, especially his challenging marriage to Anne. Their relationship grew tense under the weight of Glover's increasing fame. The situation worsened when Glover was diagnosed with a brain tumor, a disease that took his life too soon. Despite his declining health, he continued to work, but illness brought severe physical and emotional tolls. Brian Glover passed away on July 24, 1997, at the age of 63, after a painful battle with the disease. Ronald Lacey, who played Harris in Porridge, was a scheming and unreliable character, engaging in shady dealings within the prison. While Lacey's performance made a strong impact, his personal life was marked by suffering. Starting his role at the age of 42, Lacey had a career in the arts with both successes and failures, but his private life was troubled. After a difficult marriage, he faced the heartbreaking loss of his only son in a car accident. This grief led him into a spiral of alcoholism and gradually deteriorating health. Ronald Lacey passed away on May 15, 1991, at the age of 55, from liver failure. His death marked a tragic end to a life full of loss and pain, overshadowing both his career and personal life with tragedy. Peter Vaughn, who portrayed Harry Grout in Porridge, played a scheming and powerful prisoner, feared by both inmates and guards. With this role, he showcased his exceptional acting talent, creating the image of a master manipulator in the chaotic environment of the prison. However, Vaughn's real life was filled with tragedy. While his career was very successful, his personal life was a series of struggles. He went through 2 failed marriages and suffered the heartbreaking loss of his daughter in a car accident, a loss that haunted him throughout his life. In his later years, Vaughn faced numerous health issues but continued acting, delivering performances full of depth. He passed away on December 6, 2016, at the age of 93, leaving behind a great legacy with iconic roles but also a life story full of pain and loneliness. Patricia Brake, who portrayed Ingrid Fletcher in Porridge from 1974, played a compassionate and warm character in the cold world of prison, always loving and supporting her father, Norman Stanley Fletcher. However, Brake's life was full of suffering and tragedy. She went through 2 failed marriages, one to actor Peter Vaughn, which couldn't overcome emotional distance and ended in separation. Her second marriage also didn't last long, leaving Brake with a deep sense of loneliness. Although she did not have children, this only amplified her isolation, especially in her later years. After being diagnosed with cancer, Brake's health deteriorated significantly, and she had to endure a painful battle with the disease. Patricia Brake passed away on May 28, 2022, at the age of 79. Her death marked the end of a life filled with personal tragedies, though she left behind a legacy of memorable performances in the hearts of audiences. Maurice Denham, who played Raleigh in Porridge in 1974 at the age of 65, portrayed a character with a stern and distant demeanor in prison, completely opposite to his own lonely personal life. Despite having a long and varied career, Denham faced indifference from the industry as he entered his later years, often feeling pushed aside for younger talents. His family life was also challenging. His decades-long marriage deteriorated over time, and Denham no longer had the close relationships he had once hoped for. Not having children further contributed to his sense of isolation. In his final years, Denham's health declined, and he passed away on July 24, 2002, at the age of 92 from natural causes. His death marked a quiet end for a talented man often overlooked, leaving behind a void in the entertainment industry that few recognized. Peter Jeffrey, who played the stern and imposing Wainwright in Porridge from 1974 to 1977, portrayed a prison officer full of responsibility, always confronting the prisoner's antics with frustration and unwavering seriousness. While his acting career on television was steady, Jeffrey's personal life was marked by tragedy. He went through a brief and emotionally strained marriage, ending in divorce, and had no children to carry on his legacy. This left him to face increasing loneliness as he grew older. Behind his tough exterior on screen, Jeffrey struggled with personal pains he kept hidden. In his later years, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, a cruel illness that ultimately took his life. Peter Jeffrey passed away on December 25, 1999, at the age of 70, leaving behind a legacy of memorable roles but a life marked by solitude and unfulfilled dreams. Eric Dodson, who played the stern and formidable Mr. Banyard in Porridge from 1974, brought to the character an image of a powerful prison officer, entirely contrasting with the difficulties he faced in his personal life. Dodson's first marriage ended tragically, forcing him to raise his daughter on his own, a heavy emotional burden he quietly carried. His second marriage lasted but was always filled with unresolved differences and tensions, leading him to feel that his family was falling apart. Although his acting career was relatively stable, Dodson's personal life was filled with anguish, particularly the increasing sense of isolation in his later years. As his health declined, he could not escape the sorrow that had plagued him for years. Eric Dodson passed away on January 13, 2000, at the age of 70, after a long battle with illness, leaving behind a legacy of memorable roles but also a life marked by suffering and personal tragedy. Dudley Sutton, who played the unpredictable and sometimes dangerous Reg Irwin in Porridge, brought to the character a tension and unpredictability, making him an important part of the chaotic prison setting. Sutton's portrayal showed a character capable of easily shifting from humorous moments to brutal actions, reflecting part of his own unstable personal life. Despite being known for his energetic roles, Sutton's life off-screen was full of struggles. He went through an unhappy marriage, marked by emotional distance, before eventually separating. Sutton also battled depression and loneliness, though he continued working in television, never finding the satisfaction he had hoped for. His personal life was marked by inner struggles, and his career never reached the heights he had expected. In his later years, Sutton fought a prolonged battle with cancer, a fight he faced quietly. Dudley Sutton passed away on September 15, 2018, at the age of 85, leaving behind a memorable acting legacy, but his life was a series of pains and an anonymous struggle. David Dacre, who played the tough and scheming Jarvis in Porridge from 1974 to 1977, brought a strong, intelligent image of a prisoner always looking for ways to outsmart the authorities. Taking on this role at the age of 39, Dacre created a character who became essential to the program's appeal, with Jarvis' frankness and cunning making his performance unforgettable. However, Dacre's real life was not easy. His 15-year marriage to Linda ended in divorce, largely due to the stresses of his busy career and long absences. They had a son named Mark, who became increasingly distant from his father, intensifying Dacre's feelings of loneliness and instability. After the divorce, Dacre's career gradually declined, and he faced significant financial difficulties. By the 1990s, Dacre had become quite reclusive, unable to regain the success of his earlier days. Now 89, Dacre lives in a modest flat in London, spending much of his time reflecting on a life full of ups and downs, both in his personal life and career. The hardships in his life have left many painful marks on his mind, and moments of reflection on the past bring feelings of bitterness and regret. Alan Armstrong, who played the eccentric and quirky Spraggan in Porridge, brought a special charm to the character from the early days of the show when he was just 31 years old. With his baffling behaviors and unusual view of life in prison, Spraggan created an entertainment wave for viewers, becoming a beloved character and highlighting Armstrong's unique acting style. However, Armstrong's real life was filled with many tragedies and difficulties. His marriage, built on hope, ultimately ended in separation. The emotional wounds from this breakup deeply affected him, and he struggled to maintain a relationship with his children. The pressure of balancing career and personal life made him feel disappointed and regretful for many years. As his career slowed down, Armstrong had to face the reality that his life was not as fulfilling as the roles he had once played. In 2025, at 78 years old, Armstrong's health began to decline. He lives in relative isolation, spending much time reflecting on his life and the opportunities lost, which remain in his mind. An unexpected accident in the past and a prolonged battle with illness created a tragedy that few knew about. Philip Maddock, who played the calculating and manipulative Williams in Porridge from 1974 to 1977, brought a ruthlessness, manipulation, and immorality to the character, completely opposite to his real-life existence. Stepping into this role at the age of 40, Maddock created a standout image among a series of memorable television and film roles, including appearances in Doctor Who and The Avengers. However, his personal life was filled with tragedy. Maddock's marriage ended in a bitter divorce, leading him to become estranged from his wife and 2 children. The following years of his life were marked by deep loneliness as inner struggles and health issues increased. Maddock struggled with his own demons, and in his later years, he faced a prolonged battle with cancer, a disease that slowly ravaged his body. Philip Maddock passed away on March 5, 2012, at the age of 77, leaving behind an impressive career but also a life full of pain and regret in his personal life. How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to watch our latest video.